Good morning.
Sorry, excuse me.
I'm Regina, Speaker, the proud Executive Director of Montgomery County Intermediate Unit. Behind me on the stairs, I am joined by superintendents, legislators, proud supporters of public education, and our student representatives from the districts in Montgomery County. I am honored to be joined here today as our 21 public school districts in Montgomery County are supporting public education.
Excuse me.
It is not often that we have the time to come together like this, and today we are doing so with hope and optimism, and an appeal to support the governor's proposed funding increases for public education. I am pleased to be joined at the podium today by the Superintendent of Norristown, Pottstown, and Souderton Area School Districts, by Children First K-12 Education Policy Director, and by 3 high school students who know firsthand how public education has impacted them, and why quality education experiences are so very important. It is my honor to introduce Norristown Area High School Senior Jeremiah McCray. Speaking after Jeremiah will be Pottstown High School Senior Elizabeth Adedeji. And Springfield Township High School Senior Nia Kennedy. Thank you so very much for being here, and Jeremiah McCray will start us off this morning. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm a senior at Norristown Area High School, and I'm also a senior at Central Montco Technical High School in the teaching program. I already attended Pennsylvania State University in the fall on full-ride intended major in education. I firmly believe that my school has made me who I am. I often say on the school board in my first meeting that I'm a student rep that I bleed blue and white. You know, all my siblings have been through the Norristown Area School District, and through my parents and the lessons I've learned to use it to build myself up. I serve in my community, I do different activities and clubs and sports, and it's helped me see the world in a different lens. Oftentimes people say Norristown doesn't get enough resources, and we don't. That's why this bill is going to help us fund my school and other schools in Montgomery County to give students the resources they need to be successful. Even then, our students at Norristown and these other districts are striving and reaching their highest potential. But imagine what it would be like if they had the funds and the bills passed so they can reach their full potential with all these new bills being passed. It's really amazing that I was able to see this in fruition today with the different legislators and different superintendents and school board members who are working and doing their best to ensure that the future education of many students in Pennsylvania is ensured in good hands. I'm very thankful for that, and I know that with this bill being passed, hopefully it's being passed, Pennsylvania education will be #1. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth Adedeji, and I'm a senior at Pottstown Senior High School, and I'm also a dual student at Montco. Students today and in the future, because of the color of their skin or the neighborhood they live in, may not be given a chance to succeed. With proper funding and resources, our students could soar to incredible heights. My younger sister is a great example. She got the Superintendent's Award for both in reading for 4th grade. This was only possible because her teacher had a new reading program thanks to the small increase in our funding we got this year. She and the other Growth Award winners in Pottstown School District could reach their full potential when given the same opportunities as other districts. The state must provide us with what we need. In my CTE marketing classroom, we needed a professional quality printer for ads. My teacher had to apply for a grant to make this purchase. Fortunately, he got the grant, and the printer led to 4 students qualifying for DECA Nationals, including myself. I don't think that our district should have to rely on grants that may or may not be awarded in order to purchase equipment other districts can already afford. If students are starting their education at the elementary level without getting the resources they need, then they will unfortunately have a harder time learning, resulting in lower grades and fewer opportunities. With more funding, scores will increase, and so will the stories of success from our students. Students in our community and neighborhoods deserve fair funding. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Nia Kennedy. I'm a 17-year-old student that currently attends Springfield Township High School as a junior. I serve as the school board, student representative, and vice president of Voices of Excellence at our school. I'm here today to advocate for Pennsylvania's public schools receiving more state financing. I'm a public school student, so I can attest to the value of a top-notch education for both myself and my peers. Students in public schools are frequently exposed to a range of cultures, ethnicities, and viewpoints. Public schools frequently collaborate with neighborhoods through partnerships, events, and initiatives that help kids develop a feeling of community and civic duty. I go to a school with resources and I am presented with many different opportunities. However, since our community's taxpayers are the ones who must fund our schools, sometimes the hikes present a significant hardship for a large number of our residents. There are many needs that could be satisfied with more state financing, even in a school system like Springfield Township. I can tell you straight that better experiences for every student in this county and state may have a significant impact on our future. The list is endless and includes things like safety and security, staff and teacher training, modern technology, upgraded school buildings, transportation, special education, competitive pay, and smaller class sizes. Everything matters in the end. Legislators, please cooperate to approve more money for Pennsylvania's public schools. I'm very grateful for your time. Thank you.
First of all, those student speakers were incredible. Can we give them a for sharing your experiences? You inspire all of us to continue fighting for fair, full school funding. My name is Priyanka Reyes-Kaura, and I'm the Baseball Education Policy Director at Children First. Children First has been advocating for fully, fairly funding schools in Montco and across southeastern PA and the entire state for decades. And many of these district leaders and lawmakers standing here have been fighting with us for just as long. For too long, state underfunding has led to a patchwork of some great opportunities for students, yes, but also many missed opportunities for students across the county, where some students have not had the basic necessities, and many residents have been paying exorbitant property taxes. This is not just my opinion. This is the result of a state court decision released by the Pennsylvania Commonwealth Court last February, which ruled our school funding system is unconstitutional. This year, there's finally a solution on the table. It is an ambitious education funding proposal that could transform opportunity across the county and the state. This year's education budget proposal was informed by the Basic Education Funding Commission that held 13 public hearings across the state of Pennsylvania and was then supported by Governor Shapiro. In this education funding proposal, every single district in Montgomery County, and in fact every single district in Pennsylvania, will benefit. No school district will lose funds. It's a 7-year plan to invest in our students and fully close the unconstitutional school funding gap. Countywide, Montgomery County would gain $43 million next year. That's $30 million in adequacy funding, tax equity, and increases to basic education and special education funding, and an additional $13 million to level the playing field by curbing wasteful overspending by cyber charter schools. That's enough money to hire about 360 new teachers across the county just next year. Imagine what that could do for students to reduce class sizes and give kids the academic support that they need. It would mean that our highest tax burden districts may not have to raise local taxes next year. Almost 9 school districts in Montgomery County qualify for what's called a tax equity supplement because the state recognizes that they have overburdened their taxpayers due to state underfunding. We're almost at the finish line, but we're not quite there yet. This education funding proposal is sound and would invest in the students of this county. We have to get this done. There's no time to waste. Before Jeremiah and Nia and Elizabeth graduate high school, let's show them what it looks like when we work together to solve problems. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank our legislators, school board members, district administrators, and other guests for joining us this morning. I'm Christopher Dormer. I'm extremely proud to be the superintendent of schools of the Norristown Area School District and a member of the Montgomery County Legislative Committee. Before I get into my remarks, I do want to thank Jeremiah, there's one mic, Elizabeth and Nia for their outstanding comments. And everything you hear today about budgets and politics and facilities that I'm going to talk about and staffing, let's not forget it's about Jeremiah, Elizabeth, and Nia. It is about children. Everything we talk about is about them. So let's not lose sight of when we talk about historic increases in dollars and all these things. It's to benefit them and their future. And keep that in mind when you hear about all the things that we're going to talk about today. Today does present all of us with an incredible opportunity to commit to work together in the best interest of our students, our staff, our families, and all of our communities here in Montgomery County and across the Commonwealth. This opportunity should be united support for Governor Shapiro's budget proposal to invest a historic $1.1 billion in additional funding into education next year, matching the first-year investment recommended by the Basic Education Funding Commission's approved report to constitutionally and adequately fund our schools with an additional $5.4 billion over the next 7 years. Over the past few years, we have seen and experienced and benefited from historic investments in education. I'm very proud to share with you today that we put the money to good use right here in Norristown and the Norristown Area School District. Over the past 3 years, we've been able to add 80 additional staff positions, which have directly had a positive impact on our students and student achievement. Just this past year, we saw a 10 percentage point increase in math proficiency in our elementary schools. We saw a 5 percentage point increase in math proficiency in our middle schools. What does this show? When class sizes are smaller and instructional coaches and specialists can do their work, results follow. Full stop. And more gains are right around the corner. Equally as important to our community, over the past 3 budgets, we've not had to raise taxes one dime. Should the current budget proposal be enacted, the Norristown Area School District is proposing another 59 staff positions and to hold taxes in line for a 4th consecutive year. The increase in state funding is simply game-changing for a school district like Norristown that has too long had to make sacrifices that we knew were not in the best interests of our students, our staff, our families, and our community. One important area, as we talk about the investment in children, that this year's funding in future years, should it come to fruition, is investments in our district buildings and facilities. I'm going to tell you Norristown stories, but I guarantee all of our superintendents could tell you similar stories. We believe that delivering high-quality public education is also providing kids great spaces in which to learn. Here in Norristown, we have beautiful school buildings, but they are beautiful and extremely old school buildings. Our newest constructed school just turned 31 years old, Whitehall Elementary School. Our next newest building, our flagship, Norristown Area High School, is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. In the next 2 years, we'll have 2 schools that will be celebrating their 100th anniversaries. All school buildings are beautiful, but they are expensive to maintain and upkeep. Because we've been underfunded for so long, and because the commission has put that number for Norristown at, we should have an additional $53 million a year annually, we need to address years of deferred maintenance on core infrastructure, such as roofs and HVAC systems, before you can even begin to address if old buildings were not designed to deliver the type of instruction and teaching and learning that our kids today deserve moving forward. We recently completed a district-wide facility study and master planning process, just to renovate everything as is, before we even get to modernizing and making classrooms the way that it is. The cost in Norristown would be north of $180 million to modernize. To do what's right, to reconfigure, modernize, and reimagine, that price tag soars to $330 million. But here's the amazing part. If the legislature comes through and agrees to the budget and follows the commission's recommendations, Norristown Area School District can pay for it all, and we will not have to raise taxes a single dollar. So I don't want to distract you with big numbers, politics, agendas, or the physical outcomes in our buildings. This is about what I started with. This is about providing our children. Thank you all for your voice today. About providing children the opportunity to come to school each day and be inspired and excited about being the best version of themselves because they're in spaces that are conducive to that. This year's budget proposal takes a significant step forward in making that reality here in Norristown and in all districts in Pennsylvania. I implore our governor and our legislature to deliver for our children, not only this year, but please make that 7-year commitment to ensure that each and every child can thrive and succeed in our public schools for years to come. Thank you. It is an honor and privilege to introduce my colleague and friend, Dr. Frank Gallagher, Superintendent of Souderton Area School.
Good morning. My name is Frank Gallagher, and I'm proud Superintendent of Souderton School District for the last 11 years. I'm honored to serve as the chair of the Legislative Committee for the Montgomery County Intermediate, bringing together school districts and superintendents across the county. While no budget or education funding plan is perfect, we are truly hopeful about the increases in the Governor Shapiro's basic education funding. I know that every educator present in this room today is pleased to see an increase in support for public education. We know how complex but also important our work is. For our students, families, community, school districts, our state, and really all of our future. This morning, I would like to specifically address the reforms that are being proposed for the way cyber charter schools are funded across the Commonwealth. Both the governor's budget and Representative Joe Reese's House Bill 1422 include a financial cap on cyber charter school tuitions. We are so encouraged that there appears to be bipartisan support for this reform. We know that this is the time for that. Time to finally reconcile the actual cost of providing cyber education with the rates that school districts have been charged for their students who attend these schools. During the 21-22 school year, the state's largest cyber charter school reported a profit of $122 million. This is not the way a public school should operate. Yet cyber charters have been in the business of making money. Have become publicly funded private schools, and they are schools that are almost without exception among the very lowest performing in student achievement of any schools in Pennsylvania. We have been paying more for the worst results. Cyber charter schools simply do not have the same costs as brick and mortar schools, yet they have been charging school districts and our taxpayers excessive fees that often go toward massive advertising budgets and executive salaries. In Souderton, in 2022, we enrolled 118 students in our own in-house cyber education program known as SABA, at a cost of approximately $3,412 per student, far less than the tuition rate of a regular ed student of $14,200 that we pay to 12 different cyber charter schools across the Commonwealth. Across Pennsylvania, there's now bipartisan support for funding reform for cyber charter schools by placing a standard cap on tuition for students, as well as creating a tiered formula that actually reflects the cost of providing special education services. What a difference that would make for school districts and for taxpayers who support our schools. Currently, the rates that cyber charter schools charge local school districts for students who qualify for special education widely vary, even if the same services are being provided. For example, Souderton pays for every special education cyber charter school north of $34,000 a student. If a student needs a relatively time-limited service, such as an hour of speech therapy twice a week, cyber charters are often charged to school districts nearly double the tuition rate, simply because they are allowed to do so. Under the special education tuition formula for a district like Souderton, that means that our regular education tuition rate for two cyber charter schools, just over $14,000, skyrockets once again to north of $34,000. Across Pennsylvania, 98% of the cyber charter schools identified for cyber students identified for special education are receiving the lowest tier of service. And yet these schools receive the full special education tuition rate. Again, now we are so hopeful that there appears to be a bipartisan support to set a statewide cyber charter tuition rate and to modify the special education rate to account for differences in the services being offered. Representative Cerisi's bill also includes a host of additional cyber charter reforms, all of which we support. What's at stake? If these reforms are passed, school districts in Pennsylvania would save an estimated $262 million in cyber charter tuition every single year. In Montgomery County, our public school district spent $40.9 million in cyber charter school tuition in 2022. The estimated annual savings for Montgomery County under House Bill 1422 would be $20.7 million. Imagine what we could do with these savings. Hire additional staff, strengthen our facilities, offer increased training, support our local taxpayers, and support education systems that we know are working and are truly the heart of our communities. Thank you, and now I would like to introduce my good friend, Mr. Stephen Rodriguez, Superintendent of Schools for Pottstown School District.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. I'm here today to urge our legislators to pass the governor's budget, to continue to provide critical resources for our Montgomery County schools and beyond. For many years at events like this, I have reported on the negative effects of underfunding our schools, especially those schools which are a majority of Black and brown children in urban environments. But today, I'm going to do something different and share some of the wonderful progress we have made with the increase in state funding that we've received over the past couple of years. So, instead of reporting that our teachers are leaving because of huge salary disparity, we, the Pottstown School District, have been able to pay our teachers a better wage, and retention is at an all-time high. Instead of calling out a major mental health crisis, I can share that we have added and hired school counselors for every single one of our school buildings. So we have 3,400 students. And before increased funding for those 3,400 students, we had 4 counselors. Now we have 12. Instead of sounding the alarm on the lack of curriculum, research-based programs, or enrichment to support our most critical mission, the academic instruction of our students, I can share that we've been able to purchase updated curriculum series with all of the supports that go with them. We've been able to provide professional development for our teachers who are implementing these programs with great enthusiasm. To quote one of our most senior first grade teachers, and if you've ever been in a first grade classroom, you know their word is law. Right? She said this to me, "Stephen, in 25 years, I have never seen my children learn to read so fast." Instead of reporting the discrepancy of progress between our school districts and other districts in the state, I can confidently say that our growth rate is nothing short of phenomenal. For the past 23 months, I've been able to take some time and recognize students and staff who demonstrate outstanding growth in the area of reading and math. Over the course of the year, I've given out hundreds of growth certificates and gotten to hear a lot of wonderful, rags to riches, educational, inspiring stories. One such student goes to one of our elementary schools, and his name is Imad. Imad came to us with significant need. 2 years ago, almost all of his classroom interactions with adults or students were negative. He needed multiple services to help regulate his behavior and academic growth, and his academic performance was not good. He very easily could have been another casualty of an underfunded school, but because we had extra resources, we were able to work with him and help this young man over a period of not hours, not days, not weeks, not months, but the past 2 solid years. He is now in 3rd grade and is the absolute joy of his teachers. I came into his classroom to give a growth award, and when Imad heard his name, he literally shouted for joy to the applause of all of his classmates. Much work to do. But this is evidence of what can happen when we adequately and fairly fund our schools. Just imagine the results for both our communities and the economy of our great Commonwealth when our public schools are fully funded. And now I'd like to reintroduce Dr. Regina Speaker, Executive Director of the MCIU.
Thank you for our speakers. Thank you most especially to our students. Elizabeth, Jeremiah, and Nia. And I have to say, Jeremiah, I believe you can get your resume ready as soon as you're ready. We will be ready to have you employed with us.
I already promised the job would be
Every person who is here today representing school districts across Montgomery County understands the importance of public education. They understand the value and the difference that a robust, high-quality educational system can make for students who are truly our future. They understand the increasing complexities of meeting the learning needs of every single student and how ultimately we must have a bigger investment from the state if we are to meet those needs. We simply cannot continue to rely on property tax increases to fund this work. They know how important it is to provide salary structures that will attract and retain well-trained teachers and other staff members, bus drivers, classroom aides, cafeteria workers, technology assistants that support the needs of all of our schools. They know the importance of having funds to invest in mental health. They know that early childhood education is truly a key to ensuring that students receive the foundation they need to learn before they even begin kindergarten. The proposed budget includes a significant investment in early childhood learning, including new funding for early intervention programs, Head Start, and pre-K counts. Programs that are supported by the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit and programs that we know make significant difference for our students. For years, decades, public educators in Pennsylvania have been asking the Commonwealth to more adequately fund our public schools. There is great hope that we are making progress and in fact seeing bipartisan support for what we know is a fundamental right and simply the right thing to do, to ensure that children no matter where they live in the Commonwealth, can attend a public school that has been appropriately funded. This should not be a privilege for just some students who live in affluent communities. Every single child should have the same access to school systems and services that we know work, support, nurture, elevate, and advance. And so, we call our county legislators and state legislators to understand the importance of funding our schools. You have seen and heard the needs, from aging facilities in need of repair, to classroom programs that really work, to hiring the best staff and providing training, to funding early childhood education. It makes all the difference. Let's pass this budget and make a real difference in the lives of our schools, our students, and the communities across Montgomery County. Thank you so much.